And now we're moving to green. Ascendant Pack Leader, green creature wolf. ETBs with a counter if you control a permanent with 4 or greater, mana value 4 or greater. When you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, put a counter on the Pack Leader. 2/1. Any opinions?
Yeah, I had that card in my top 5. And then it might still be. I actually had Sorin in my top 5, and after reviewing the set and thinking about it more, we didn't even give it free star, so or free hat. Sorry, I think that card's really good. Green had no 1-drops, and it's a decent one. It's not amazing, but 2/1 on one that grows later in the game. It's a little bigger, and yeah, just a general lack of good 1-drops for green might make that card really good. It might give you the extra hit, velocity, I guess you needed. It's also makes the werewolf maybe easier to trigger on turn 3. Maybe it was a pump spell, or you could go turn 1 this, turn 2 werewolf, turn 3 blizzard brawler creature, attack, draw a card if you're not drawing them. It does have like little tension was Kazandu Mammoth. You were in some ways, and a lot of these green decks were okay not having too many 1-drops because it gave you a chance to play that land on turn 1. But I think it's a really good card in this specific form. Maybe in a vacuum it wouldn't be amazing, but it's kind of what green was lacking a bit. So it's not the most amazing card, but could do the job.
I think your evaluation is spot on. It is not the it's not like the greatest in the vacuum, but it does like fill a pretty gaping hole in a deck that already exists, and that seems to me like it would really enjoy this type of an effect because it's a 1-drop and it's a good 1-drop, and it's a good aggressive 1-drop in general for a mono green deck. So I think it's probably like one of the more impactful cards from the set for standard, at least like in the immediate sense. And it's not a like dead top deck. Like a 3/2 creature is pretty respectable on board. It's not a blank. Pretty significantly better than a 2/1.
Yeah.
So I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, as a wolf type.
What is that relevant for?
It's a little tricky to play 1-drops in, for instance, Naya Werewolf in standard, but you have the red-green 3-drop that draws you a card whenever a wolf or werewolf deals damage to an opponent. There's a couple downsides to being a wolf, I think, but mostly there's marginal upsides.
Yeah, it can trigger Tovolar, Dire Overlord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a really good card for standard and really impactful.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I can give it a 5. This will be the first 5 that I give, like very skimpy with this review, but nothing excited me as much. Do you think it's too high, or do you think that could be appropriate?
I think it's a 5 if mono green is tier 1, and so it's relative.
It's kind of depends.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.
The 5 is a bit of a gamble. I agree, but I have faith in the wolf.
For that card to be a 5, you need green to be the either the best deck in standard or one of the 3 best rock paper scissors deck, which it kind of was. But I was hearing that green was a bit falling off, and it was all about blue red turns in standard because or blue black now, etc. So yeah, it's close. Well,
next card, Avabrook Caretaker, 6 mana, Hexproof. Beginning of combat, put 2 counters on another creature you control. In the backside, Hexproof. Everything you have has Hexproof. Beginning of combat, put 2 counters on each creature you control. 6/6. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I must have barely read it. It looked just expensive, kind of whatever, but it does a lot, I guess, and it has Hexproof, the most hated hated word in Magic.
Everything has hexproof when you flip her,
Yeah.
which is kind of sizable. Yeah, I don't think it's a great card by any means. Like, it's not really like a Carnage Tyrant or anything like that. But it's could see it being played as a way to break like games in creature mirrors that stall. Like, for example, I'm not sure if it's like better or worse than the enchantment that people sometimes play in their mono green decks for the mirror. I could see it being better, I could see it being worse. It's a 6-mana creature, which is pretty hefty cost, but it like has hexproof, so that means it doesn't die to anything. And it kind of makes Blizzard Brawls, etc. worse.
I mean, if somehow it's night when you cast it, you probably just win the game, right?
Yeah. Although you'd need to have a werewolf before that. Some difference.
Yeah, you need it to be night. You need to put 6 mana cards in your probably what is an aggressive deck, so.
Well, just why it's like a sideboard.
Yeah.
Mirror breaker, which results in a 2 out of 5 Volcanicus on my end.
Let's give it a two yellowhat as well here.
Cartographer's Survey, 4 mana sorcery, look at the top 7, grab 2 lands, put them on the battlefield tapped. I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I think it's like the first, probably one of the first, or if the first, what's the name of this effect?
Explosive vegetation.
Explosive vegetation that can grab lands like past basics or like past just like mana producing lands. Is that right? Do you remember any other?
I think there was one that maybe got Gilgates and basics.
Yeah, but that's still like just mana producing. Well, I guess you could use Gilgates for like other purposes, but this can get like Sagas, Dark Depths, Valakuts, whatever else you would be dreaming of getting. It would be good. I think it could be more interesting if Field of the Dead was a card.
Yeah.
That was legal anywhere.
You think that card could see playing Titan?
So it's probably kind of a tough sell, like red-green Valakut type Titan in an actual Amulet Titan. Probably not.
Yeah, maybe in red-green Valakut. I thought the 5-mana card was always kind of sweet, the one that
Out of Promise.
Zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like a cheaper Out of Promise, but you're not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think that card's going to be necessarily very good for standard decks, just as a RAM card.
Yeah, just as a RAM card, it's pretty whatever, but it's like kind of, well, it's not a very good card. It's a card that I put in the review to like highlight the fact that it's kind of a unique take on an effect that we had available in the past, and that's not necessarily going to be playable, but it very well might be. Which is why I give like so many 2 out of 5s, because I bring up many cards like this.
Yeah, make red-green Titan great again. Yeah, okay, I'll give it a 2 as well. I kind of overlooked that maybe the modern potential.
Chad asks if we think it's playable standard though. Well, if you want an explosive vegetation, then you're gonna play it, but like it's kind of a wash. It's kind of the same effect and like doesn't. It's not different than a vegetation in standard. Cemetery Prowler, 1 green, vigilance, creature wolf. ETB or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards exiled Cemetery Prowler. 3/4. What do you think, Gab?
I mean, it's probably worse in standard than the free drops you have right now. I think if anything, maybe it could see more play in older formats because of the ability, but it just seems a little weak overall.
Yeah, it seems kind of OP for the older formats because it's pretty expensive at that point, and then I guess a cost reducer that's pretty expensive, which doesn't make much sense. It is true that. Sure, go on.
I was just gonna say, it feels like you need to get lucky to gain a decent advantage from the passive, the one that reduces the casting cost of spells.
That's true. It's also like kind of unfortunate in standard that it matches up like so badly. The like 3/4 body matches up so well against the 4/4 body versus of the Ogrove Troll, and like also Kazandu also attacks through it, etc., etc. Yeah. Seems like very, very unexciting, and probably hard to justify playing over other existing options. And just like kind of overall, there is little that draws me towards wanting to play this card, I would say.
Yeah.
It's this type of a card.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to give it a 1. I just don't think it's ever going to see play anywhere.
All right.
Despite the fact it's kind of a good card, you know, it's like okay, but just
yeah, it's kind of pushed stat-wise, but like doesn't actually do anything, and it's not push enough stat-wise.
Yeah, it's missing like a point of power or trample. I don't even know.
Right,
draw a card when it deals damage.
I give it a 1 out of 5 too, because you really opened my eyes to this card's faults. And I was about to say, no, it's like 2 out of 5. It's like, it's fine, chat, but it's not fine. Cultivator, Colossus, 7 mana, green, creature, plant, beast. Trample, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. When it ETBs, you may put a land from your hand, tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. The reason why this one was brought up is because some of the Amulet gamers believe, or rather some of the Twitch chat users believe it's like an Amulet card. I think that belief is mainly based upon a fake, or rather failure of understanding of the card, because it doesn't let you untap the lands from Amulet of Vigor as they enter float mana and replay the bounce land, because, well, it's one, like, you need to resolve the effect, you don't get to bounce your bounce lands before that, so it doesn't actually draw your deck with a Steamy Growth Chamber.
So basically you added that card to the list to call out people for being idiots. That's the only purpose.
Well, I wouldn't say idiots, but I would rather say that I'm wanting to clear up an understanding.
All right.
And you can draw every land in your deck with like abundance in play, but like who plays abundance, right?
Right.
But it doesn't work with Amulet.
Yeah.
So for actual uses in Constructed, I give it a 1 out of 5 because I think it has no uses.
Me too.
All right.
It's like Kanister is like, oh, we're already 2.5 hours in at, whatever red, or also Kanister brings up totally unplayable card just to.
I had things to say about this card.
No, I'm joking. It's fine.
Dig up. Green mana, cleave, 4 mana, 2 black. Set your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And cleave, set your deck for a card, put it into hand, then shuffle. What do you think?
I think it's not gonna see play. I actually thought Golgari halfway decent in Standard. But I think it's kind of tricky to always play it on turn 1, because if you're playing 2 colors in Standard, you probably need to play a few lands that come into play tapped. So you don't have the kind of optimal number of untapped green source on turn 1 to cast it on turn 1. And then 4 mana for Diabolic Tutor is not very good of an effect. And, even just playing Dig Up it's never free, to play these cards. It costs you the 1 mana, it messes up your curve, and I don't think that card's good.
Yeah. I already talked about tutors in general in Magic when we talked about the Exile 13 card. And the question that Dig Up poses is, does having access to Diabolic Tutor, like the 10% of times you want to cast it over Lay of the Lands, justify playing Lay of the Lands in your deck? I guess that's kind of the question that this card poses. And I think the answer is probably not, because Diabolic Tutor kind of sucks overall, right?
Yeah.
This kind of dual use card would be suited for playing it in more mid-range or control-ish decks, and in those decks the tutors are hardly that good anyways. For the mana I have to pay for it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when Diabolic Tutor was ever good. I think I played it in Standard Battle of Wits. I actually played Standard Battle of Wits at Worlds one year. I thought the deck was good. I was winning a lot. Was it on Magic Online? And I want to say it was played in the Cabal Coffers, Mono Black. I think it was the Standard version, the block version. I guess it's not a block card. I think it saw play at some point too in maybe a Standard. So it has been played in the past, but it was a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. And the Cabal Coffers was how many years ago, right? And I think the cards are overall getting better than they were in the past, and the way in which they get better is often that they're good because they're efficient. I think more so than they are good because they have powerful effects. I don't know if you agree with that, and that is something that makes tutors weaker, not stronger.
Yeah, I think this card's just too slow, just costing you too much tempo at every step of every point of the game.
I give it 1 out of 5.
Yeah, me too. I think it's just a trap.
I think it's gonna trap some folks, but not if they watch the Kanister feed yellowhat set review.
Exactly.
Hamlet Vanguard, 3 mana creature, human warrior, ward 2, ETBs with 2 counters for each other non-token human you control, 1/1. I think this card is not very good, but I had an important thing to say about it again. Namely, I get kind of annoyed whenever they print those tribal whatever effects into the void. They rarely print enough tribal support of the same tribe to make a standard deck nowadays. But the cards are also not of the quality where you could use them in older formats. So I don't know, that probably means that they are for casual players and EDH gamers. So they're just not for me, and it triggers me a little bit.
Yeah. This stuff one, I don't think, as you said, it's gonna have enough support for Standard. We talked about, if a creature costs 3 or more, it needs to have a come into play effect. Ward 2 is somewhat of a come into play effect. It doesn't just die to a removal for cheap. Is it good enough for Modern? It hits hard, but it's probably worse than Mantis Rider or Spellbinder or whatnot.
Well, the problem is that it's the floor is a 3 mana 1/1, right?
Yeah. It basically feel like it leaves you with white green historic, right? White green humans historic. it's one of the best decks. I don't know if it's quite tier 1, but there's a good deck in Historic that's basically mono white human splashing for company, and this is potentially 5/5 or 2 on turn 3. If you hit it of a company, can be 7/7 9/9. Who knows? It's hard. It hits hard, but it has tough competition. The white free drops you play in those decks have come into play effects, Spellbinder, Range of EOS, etc. This just dies to a sweeper, and you got nothing out of it. So I know people were pretty excited about that card. I think it's gonna fall short.
Yeah, like collected company is a good point. It can actually like be a big statted creature, like kind of maybe bigger than you expect from company. So like that's one upside where it's okay, but besides that, it's a source of anger for me.
Yeah.
What's your rate?
I'm still going to give it a 2.
All right. I'll give it a harsh one because I have no sympathy for cards that induce only negative feelings in me.
All right.
Opaque Piper, 4 mana, can be countered, 2 mana tap, put a creature card from your hand in the battlefield. If it's a wolf or werewolf, untap Piper, activate on as a sorcery. 2/2. On the backside, ETBs or transforms, look at top 6, you may grab a creature. 4/4. What do you think?
Whenever this creature is entered the battlefield or transforms, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may release a creature card among them and put it into your hand. So you play it. If you get to activate it, you put a wolf, you untap it.
Oh, we get raided by Waffle Tapper. Thank you for the raid, Waffle.
Why did you put that? I don't see it, but I might be missing something.
Yeah, I'm not sure, TBH, honestly. You can put a creature, so it could be any creature, but like the front side is not a playable card. The back side, you have a 4 mana 4/4 ETB dig 6 for a creature, can be countered. The backside is not too bad, but as we said, the backside is pretty sus, pretty hard to consistently get to.
Yeah.
So I think this card would be pretty great if it had no front side. Like I said, it would have no cost either, so you'll need to cascade into that.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 1.
Alright. And 1 out of 5 for actual constructed. It does a bit, feel like maybe like some ETH bait. Next card, Exclusive Taxidermist. 2 mana Human Druid. Gets +3/+2 as long as there are 4 more creature cards in your graveyard. Add 1 mana of any color, 1/2. Interesting for a mana dork to be able to be a 4/4 creature in the late game. At the same time, 4 creature cards in your graveyard. It's a hefty cost that is hard to get there without milling. Do you think it's better or worse than the Snow Mana Dork? What's the name of that card?
Yeah, I think it's worse.
Sculptor of something?
Sculptor of Winter, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that card's just worse. Doesn't count as a snow permanent for Blizzard Brawl, and also on tapping a land, sometimes you get the extra mana from you have a land with the troll on it, gives you an extra mana.
Yeah, there is probably the upside of the Taxidermist is lower and harder to get to, but it is a promising one. Overall, I think it goes behind Sculptor of Winter, like in the existing context of Standard. For now, I'll give it 2.
I'll give it a 1.
And the last card, this one is actually interesting to me. Ulvenvar ODT, 2 green, creature beast, trample haste. 7 mana, transform, 4/4. And the backside is 8/8, trample haste. All their creatures you control get +1/+1 and half trample and haste. So this is a second coming of Questing Beast. What do you think?
I was on the fence. I don't think it's very good. It's not strictly words in Questing Beast, obviously, because of the trample. It doesn't line up very well against Chariot, which is a problem.
That's true. It lines up kind of super badly, like mirrors of green aggressive decks.
There's a lot of the red removal that deals 4 damage, like Demon Bolt, so the stats aren't that great. And the 7 mana transforms, a little expensive and ambitious. I don't think that card's gonna see play.
It is pretty ambitious. 7 mana is a hefty cost, and there were ways to spend mana from my experience. I'm a big fan of haste tribal decks. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of something that I want to build. Maybe, as you can tell by the fact that every single creature with haste is on the review list.
I feel like it would be good if you could also cast it as 7 mana. I'm not even sure it would be good enough, but if it had the transform ability and you could also cast it for 7 mana, if you draw it, and that would make it more appealing, way more appealing.
Yeah, chat says that if you think your opponent has Demon Ball, you can just wait until you have 11 mana. So that's something. I think like, what do you think about sideboarding a card like this in like mono green, and then you can board it against sweeper decks? Haste threat.
Yeah, I don't think it's good enough as a haste threat, but I guess people were playing the Frog Hemoth in standard. It's 4/4 haste for 5, and it exiles cards and gets counters and stuff. So maybe it's not that big of a stretch, honestly, to have a card like that in your sideboard. The 1 mana difference is pretty huge.
Yeah, to me the card. To me the card seems pretty attractive, like, because I am a fan of haste tribals.
It is kind of good too as unnatural growth, the 5 mana enchantment, because it has trample.
True.
So if you curve that into the enchantment and they don't mess with you, it's a lot of unblockable damage.
Or if you just deploy the enchantment and then, like, any turn you can play Ulvenvar ODT and hit for a lot of damage. I'm giving it a 3.
All right, I was gonna give it a 1, but I'll give it a 2.
1 seems super. Well, I'm giving it a 3, so obviously 1 looks super low to me, but yeah.
Now, the fact you brought up the sideboard, and I remember that people played Frog Hemoth, and it was not totally embarrassing, so it's fair.
All right, now we have an actual interesting effect. Werewolf, Tormented Prophet, 3 mana, 2/4. If you draw a card, exile the top 2 cards from the library instead, you may play those cards this turn. What are your thoughts?
That card did not look very good to me, but I'm willing to be open-minded and listen.
Well, it is a 3 mana dice to removal type effect that needs to stick to do effects, and it's not even necessarily clear. No, it's not even that exiling cards to be able to play them this turn. Instead, is straight up better than drawing them. So I can see your point being made with those things in mind. Could this enable some combos in like some way? Probably not really. Like, not. It's a creature, and the way like combos are constrained, typically more often gonna be mana than cards, and it's not even the best at getting the cards.
Yeah, you haven't really sold me.
I have sold myself to like lower my expectations of this. Yeah, I just read somewhere or heard some talk about this card being kind of good, and I was like, well, the switch in the head was good card, and like I found it in the review, but like thinking about this closer in practice, it seems like it has very low uh, ability to break through. Probably gonna be probably a commander, legendary creature as we see.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. They make these card legends. I mean, it used to be that you made card legends because they were a bit maybe too good and you didn't want people to. It was kind of a restriction, and now they probably make these cards legendary because of commander. And at least if it's, I mean, it's so. If ever that card was to be good, it's so relevant that it's not a legend and that you can play one and then play another one. I mean, sure, 2/4 is not the greatest body, but it still matters that you can just keep playing
Yeah,
them.
that's true. It's kind of like bad with legendary. Thankfully, in Commander, you never can run into this problem, so let's leave this for the Commander players.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 as well, in case it wasn't clear.
Also, because Chad is sometimes asking if this review is going to be uploaded to YouTube, and you were planning to upload it to your YouTube. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. Maybe break it down if you can do that for me breaking down in colors, because I don't know if anyone's gonna want to watch a 5-hour video of a set review, but maybe breaking down in colors or something. We'll see. But yeah, I was planning on uploading on my YouTube page. And do you not have your VODs available to non-subs?
I do not have them available for non-subs on Twitch.tv. I do have them available on my Kanister VODs channel on YouTube. After a few days, they got uploaded here, available to be viewed by all. Next card, Kaya, Geist Hunter, 3 mana. +1, creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn.
Kanister literally didn't even read the card. He saw it was a mythic planeswalker and he put it on the list.
Yes.
Sorry, I let you read it and realize that, yeah.
But put a counter on up to 1 target creature you control. -2. You make double tokens this turn. -6. Exile all cards from all graveyards and create a spirit for each card exiled this way. They are so bad. This planeswalkers nowadays, they're so bad. Like, just like so much text, so little substance. What is the meat in this card? It's all potatoes.
Dude, it's awful.
Well, we also have a rating for like maybe situations like this. That's a bit special. But you're spot on with your analysis again, Gab. Mythic Planeswalker, into the review it goes.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
The cards are so bad. Like you thought the previous 3 mana Kaya, they're like Orzhov Usurper doesn't do anything, but it kind of does at least. Olivia Crimson writes 6 mana Flying Haste. You see the keyword haste again. Made me pay attention to this card. 3/4. When it attacks, return creature card from your graveyard tapped and attacking end. The returned creature gains when you don't control a legendary vampire. Exile it for good. Thoughts? When I look at this, I see essentially through the breach.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful. I don't know how you build a deck around it. Yeah.
What's like the biggest? Is there like some kind of a POG card that you can return in standard with this?
Chad's gonna have to help me. I don't think so.
Cultivator Colossus. Or the Huge Horror. I don't know what's the Huge Horror. It's Glorious Vengeance, sir. No, it's not Glorious Vengeance. The creature stays on the battlefield until Olivia dies. So it's gonna be because she's gonna die oftentimes, but not by itself.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see it as a one-off. You got some red-black mid-range John type of deck, and it's kind of the top of your curve, and it does stuff. It's pretty powerful, but
Oh yeah, also the restriction is like that the creature gets exiled if there is no legendary vampire, so it doesn't have to be Olivia. You can have Florian in play still, or whoever to do stuff. But yeah, like of course a very tough sell, like 6-mana cards with kind of more question marks that can kind of be dealt with a removal spell even after it attacked sometimes, unless you return something that's very attractive. I guess the good targets then are legendary vampires, because then there's no downside.
The good targets are. Yeah, that's a good point. If you bring back another legendary vampire, it's harder for them to break the chain.
Yes. All right, what would be your rate for this card?
Is it gonna see? I mean, if you're playing red-black vamp, you might just play one, go over the top. Oh.
It's super expensive for like an aggressive context, so it's
I'm gonna give it a generous 2.
Yeah, let's give it a 2. Let's give it a 2.
You might build your Vamps deck as a more kind of grindy style of deck. It does kind of work with blood tokens and some. I don't know. It could be a playable one of. It's not totally Mimi.
I think it's a little bit, but not totally.
Yeah.
Drana, the last Blood Chief. Whenever Drana, the last Blood Chief attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. Oh. So they cannot bring back each other. Torrents. Fist of the Angels. 1 green-white. Human Cleric training. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a green-white human soldier creature token of training. 2/2. What do you think of the Monastery Mentor for creatures?
It's fine card, just as competing with just too many good cards. There are just so many of these cards. And for standards, I mean, even just if you take standard, it's competing with too many cards, I think, to be good.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because the like premise doesn't really work here. Because like with Mentor, like you're gonna play Mentor, you're gonna like untap, play cantrips, do stuff, or like play Mentor, play stuff immediately, and like it all works out organically. With torrents, like creatures, you probably play like 1 or 2 per turn max, and it's not like you're sandbagging like 4 Memnites to play immediately after you deploy your torrents. Although there are free creature spells available in some formats. For example, like if you were to pitch a Solitude, you get to make a token. You want 1 green white human token and creature with training. It's attractive enough. Not really. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
And that is my verdict on the card.
All right. I'm going to give it a 1. That being said, 1.
I'll give him a 2 for trying. I guess it's a legendary creature, so maybe I'm once again getting debated by commander cards.
Yeah.
Wandering Mind. 3 mana, creature, horror. Flying, 2/1. ETB, look at the top 6. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land, put it into your hand, rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Thoughts on this?
It's interesting. It's a fine card, but who's gonna want to play it as?
That's a good question.
Feels more like a limited, maybe a limited bomb. And even then, you might break 1 in 6, right? Non-creature and non-land. You have 17 lands. Let's say 14 creatures, 9. So it's like a quarter of your deck. So you're probably gonna hit if you have the deck built for it. Yeah, I think it's too weak for constructed.
Well, I think it's too weak for constructed, but I'm not so sure. Like digging 6 is a lot.
Yeah, but you have to tap out. It doesn't help you make land drops. The body barely trades with anything.
I had some like bare, like maybe inklings of thinking about slotting it somewhere in modern, but well, probably that's embarrassing to say. But I don't know. Like I'm already playing a deck where that's playing Eternal Witness, which is a 3-mana 2/1 creature that draws a card, and like so it's like not outrageous to think that you could play 3-mana 2/1 creature that draws a card.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like for
I think
example,
that effect is worse than drawing a card, though.
it's worse than drawing a card. Impulsing six cards deep for a spell.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. I like when these cards help you make your land drops, but
yeah, that's one downside that the mind doesn't do. But like what Wandering Mind kinda does is it combines with Ephemerate too, because one of the issues in the modern decks with Ephemerate, you kind of want to have targets for Ephemerate that are more proactive.
Yeah.
So like it probably hardly outcompetes Witness in the deck where like Witness is already kind of a fringe playable in that deck. So maybe I am spouting nonsense, but
it's kind of nice that it pitches to if you play Fury and Force of Negation. That's a big thing in these elemental decks. Being gold colors is a huge deal. So if you're playing Force and Fury and you want that card in your deck,
exactly, more patchable colors, a flying body, easier to cast. Different, probably overall slightly worse effect, but I think it's not the worst. Also, chat mentions that you could build a deck where Wandering Mind does help you hit your land drops if you're gonna play Seagate's Restoration, etc.
Okay, yeah.
Alright, so is the Mind a 1 for you?
I'll give it I'm gonna give it a 1 still for constructed.
1 for constructed, alright.
I don't think it's also, I just don't think it's ever gonna really see sustained play once.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily standard and playable, although it might not be standard playable. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it's like one of the better, like it's much better than many of the cards that we've seen this set that I gave 2 to, so I would feel unfair. Although I see that you're not very high on this effect.
Gabe is an idiot. I'm gonna give this a 3.
No, well, I think it's more likely that I'm the one who's foolish here, but...
Alright.
And we're done with the gold cards, so just a few cards remaining to rate.
I had Blood Ties Harvester in gold. It's the red-black 3/2 vamp that has all upside. Thought if vamp was ever going to be playable, I thought it was like maybe the second best vamp 2-drop after the Socialite from the last set.
Oh, it's a 3/2. That's pretty nice. ETB, make a blood token. Tap sack, harvester, return, target creature gets -6/-6, and blah 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 blah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's serviceable. It's fine, you know.
It seems like serviceable to drop, like makes you blood if you care for the bloods, and it's a
It's a
3-power
bit better
creature.
to me than the 2/1 flyer. Maybe I'll see play. There was also Edgar, the 4-drop. I don't know if that's good, but at least you get something when it dies. I don't even remember exactly what it does. You flip it, you get all value, like something that makes tokens and stuff.
Yeah, you get a 4-mana 4/4, +1/+1 for other vampires, and when it dies, it transforms into a coffin. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 flyer lifelinker. No, lifelinker. Then if there are 3 or more bloodline counters, remove those counters and transform it.
Yeah, I don't think that card's very good, but
yeah, I thought that like this was one of the very few that I cut on the basis of not being worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought you might like it since it's a legendary creature.
Yeah, well,
doesn't have haste though.
It doesn't. You know, overall, I would say that the set is not brimming with constructed all-stars. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree. There's a few very, very, very strong cards, but overall, seems like a pretty weak set.
Yeah, and overall, we see in action like how you were afraid at the beginning of the review that you're going to trash, like we're going to both trash talk every single card, say that's very bad, and move to another one, and that hasn't necessarily happened.
No, it's true.
Alright, so Dollhouse of Horrors is a 5-mana artifact. 1 tap, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a construct. It has haste. So it's kind of like a Godfather's Gift in a way.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like looks a little bit like a card that has no immediate value, but if you play it at 6 mana, it actually starts off from like doing it. It does something ETB. So I think it's not the worst effect for taking over like the game in the late game. What do you think?
I don't know. I read that card and I didn't think much of it. You would have to convince me it was like maybe specific builds or scenarios that were going through your mind, because it just seems really expensive and for not that great of an effect.
Yeah, I don't have specifics in mind, as it frequently is with those cards. As you see, I operate on those like kind of vague beliefs that if you combine something and you sprinkle something else, then you're going to end up with a potentially desirable effect. And the House of Horrors is certainly in a similar ballpark.
Yeah, the effect is strong, I agree. Yeah, sorry, I don't have much.
I'm trying to thinking of combining some, blood tokens as discard outlets, and then like you would have this as your end game. It's probably not a serious contender in a format that is about to, get a braid in it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So probably. No, yeah, okay, well, Abre is being legal. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5.
Alright, thank you.
That's kind of a... Even with the inklings of a ETB effect, it's like kind of not that good of enough ETB effect, and like not that good enough
the best card in the set. We saved the best for last.
Yeah, definitely. Lent out the last 1 mana artifact. When enters the battlefield, exile a target card from a graveyard. 1 tap. Exile Lantern of the Lost. Exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. For me, it's a 5. I get 5 out of 5 Volcanicus.
It's the best. Do you think it's the best, like, graveyard hate artifact card they've ever printed?
No, but I think it's by far the best card in this set. For modern, for sure. And like the rest of the cards don't come close. And I think it is amongst the strongest graveyard hate cards to be printed so far. It definitely, for most uses, I'm pretty sure it's better than Soul Guide's Lantern. And effectively, it's a relic of Progenitors that's one-sided. You see decks like Blue Red Murktide playing Relic of Progenitors kind of begrudgingly, because they do use their... wait, what?
It's not one-sided, though.
All graveyards? How did I miss that? What? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I
let
guess
me walk that back. Exile Lantern of the Lost, exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. The first time I read this card, I read this as exile all cards from each opponent's graveyards. I could swear I've seen a version that was saying that. Do you have any input in the meantime as I'm...
I think that card's quite good, actually. If you compare it to Soul Guide Lantern, you get the exile effect as it comes into play, and when you sack it. Sure, it's not free, but going back to historic, if you're playing against like Phoenix, I think you'd rather have that card potentially than a Lantern or Claws or whatever else is legal, because you play it on turn 1 or 2, you get their looting or their Phoenix, and then it sits there and you get to exile and draw the cards. So you kind of get both of both worlds. Obviously, you can't tap out, and that is a huge deal. But it's more dedicated. Let's see, it's less middle of the road than a Soul Guide Lantern. It's tough though. It might still be worse than Lantern. Also, if you're playing an Allurus deck, Lantern's super nice because you just sack draw. You don't have to exile your graveyard. I guess the fact that you can't play it again with Allurus is a massive deal, since it exiles itself.
Well, if it works the way it does, it's a relic, right?
Yeah, except you don't have the tap ability. The tap ability is replaced by the enter the battlefield ability.
Yeah, so you've got one shot at targeted instead of like one tapped. I think I understood what happened with this card. I think the first time I've seen this card, it was mistranslated because it was not in English, and it was translated to what I thought it did, and I didn't reread it after that. And it's as is with the correct effects. It actually it's just a relic of Progenitors, but kind of a wash between this and relic of Progenitors side, because it's like whether you want the first targeted or like the tap ability. I think overall the tap ability of relic is better.
Yeah, probably.
So it actually is not a new effect. I think if it was a one-sided effect, it would be pretty game-breaking and, well, game-changing, and would be like played a lot and would be very good, because it would have a new, like, it would occupy a niche that wasn't occupied graveyard hate-wise for decks. But as it is, yeah.
Sorry, Kanister, you were so excited.
I was. But it was a mistranslation. I wonder if like there was another card where I was mistaken about its effect. I wonder if there was also like mistranslation or something, or I didn't read.
Kanister is going to sue whoever mistranslated for emotional damage. emotional abuse.
Yeah, but it's like Relic of Progenitors. So like it's not really comparable to Soul Guide Lantern because you're playing Soul Guide Lantern because it's one-sided when you're playing it, or because it's free. People do that thing where they play Soul Guide Lantern in black decks over Naya Spellbomb, which for the most part Spellbomb is just better than Soul Guide, although not against Leyline of Sanctity. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm starstruck. Is that the word to say? To use?
No, more like shell shocked, I would say. I think
Probably. Yeah.
Starstruck is like you met
The negative version of
you
starstruck.
met a, yeah.
Insane. I don't think it's the best card in this. Well, I mean, it might still be, but it's not the best card in the set for Modern because it doesn't matter for Modern since it's a slightly worse Relic of Progenitors. Arguably, like, someone might play it over Relic, but whatever. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't have much to add. I already said it's not strictly worse than the others. Is it better than a lantern? If you're playing Lurrus, it's definitely not. If you don't care about your graveyard and you have a deck that plays out in a way that you often have mana up, so maybe in a control deck, getting the first effect and the effect of exiling the graveyard, because that doesn't exist, right? And I guess Relic is legal in Historic too.
Yeah, Relic is again Historic, so it's like standard Pioneer, I guess. Pretty good for Pioneer, but yeah.
Yeah, do you need it for Standard? There's Leer decks. Yeah, it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest downside of this card is that it's gonna, make people ponder this question, like what's better, Relic of Progenitors or Lantern of the Lost, and it's gonna be...
It's so bad for us streamers.
Yes.
It's gonna lead to so many annoying questions, repetitive.
You're gonna get Gab. Have you thought about replacing Relic of Progenitors with Lantern of the Lost?
Yeah, no shit. Oh my god.
It's like whatever, and I'm gonna give it free. I think it's slightly worse than Relic overall, but
I'm gonna give it a 2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fair. I mean, in a way, this card doesn't matter because it's like mostly a downside of down we have an existing card, and here we go. The last cards. This land is representing all 5 members of the cycle. The Slowlands.
Yeah.
When it enters battlefield tapped, unless you control 2 or more other lands, and we get enemy colors, so black, green, blue, red, etc. Obviously, great lands in standard. They're way better than Snarls. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super good. I love the design. I think they're a great cycle of lands. I'm not sure if they're amazing for anything besides standard historic. Have you played Pioneer recently? Have people been playing the dual lands in Pioneer?
I haven't, but for the most part, they are worse versions of...
It's easy Jabberwocky.
They're not fully worse, but they're for the most part worse version of Checklands, right?
If you're gonna... let's see if Logan had them in his blue-white Pioneer deck. He was playing 4. Oh, you get to play Fountain, Farmland, and Glacial Fortress in blue-white control in Pioneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're mostly worse than Checklands, but I think they're probably better than Pathways. So they're kind of they're better in Historic because Historic has Archmage Charm and Pioneer doesn't. Mm. So you need pretty much every land to make blue. Whereas in Pioneer, you don't have charm, so you can play more planes, more Castle Arden Vales, some Field of Runes, etc. So it sees play. I play no pathways now, and I play 3 or 4 copies in Blue White and Historic.
Yeah,
but
so
you're right. They're mostly worse than the Glacial Fortress type of lands.
I guess it depends. Like if you have like a lot of lands with types, then you rather have Glacial Fortresses, and if you don't, then you'd rather have Deathcap Glades. Or like their color counterparts. So like mostly standard lands, like very good standard lands. I'll give them like 4 or like 5. I mean, I don't know. Like lands kind of always hard to rate because like no matter the lands, people gonna play them because you need to.
Yeah, I think it's best card in the set for standard, best cycle. It's also the cards I'm most excited about just because it gives you more possibilities, especially when we keep adding sets, and you might be tempted to do color or I don't know. They're just really good.
Yeah, I'll also always kind of dislike when the mana bases like limits what spells you can play, and in standard a little bit feels a bit artificial and not cool.
Still might not be enough for good, necessarily good 2-color aggressive decks. Even though if you don't have 1-drops, these lands are really good. I was testing a Naya Werewolf deck for Worlds, and the deck ended up not being super good. The mana was like surprisingly functional. It was just all the pathways. I was playing all these dual lands. Since you don't have 1-drops, you either play them on 1 or you play them on 3. You just they're good. Now we're just waiting for the triomes, and hopefully in 6 months, I think.
Yes. Ban Triumph, Esper Triumph.
We should be getting triomes unless they throw a curveball and decide to hate us.
Would be really sad if we don't get them. And like it's for standard it's whatever, because like you in standard just play with what you get, but if they don't print them now for modern, then would need to like wait 5 more years for another set where they can print them, and you wouldn't have access to the damned Ban Triumph ever. What's the reason we expect Triumphs? Because there is a free color set coming out with the colors, allied colors.
Yeah, I think it's Streets of Capenna.
Yes. Alright, so best cards in this set, according to both of us: 5 hats for Thalia from you, 4 hats from me, 4 hats for Geistlight Snare, no 4 or 5 hats in black, no 4 or 5 hats in red, 5 Woe Canisters for Ascendant Pack Leader, 4 hats from you, and 4 hats and 4 Woe Canisters for the lands, which is kind of a wash. So overall...
Oh, we gave them 4. I would give them 5, but...
Sure, I'll put your rating as a 5. So 5 for the lands.
For standard specifically, I guess. Yeah.
I agree. So yeah, overall, this set kind of sucks, TBH.
Yeah. It's always like... I feel like for me anyways, the recent sets for standard, I've always underestimated them, so... Hopefully we have some good surprises. There's also a lot of cards that might be good down the line. There's, the tribal cards, Zombie and Vamp specifically. I don't know if we're getting many more in the next sets. What's the theme of the next set? Is it another
It's Cyberpunk. It's Cyberpunk.
Sorry? Oh.
So I don't know if vampires are gonna be there.
Yeah.
Probably hardly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like this is kind of. I remember. I mean, I'm not sure. Was it like this when standard was in blocks? When the standard sets were printed in blocks? Because it constantly feels nowadays that they like print like some tribal support for a certain tribe or theme, but like it's only in one set and it's never fleshed out enough to really make a deck. Like we've had like there was like heroic decks like in Theros, and like they were getting cards throughout the sets in the blog, but like nowadays it's like okay, one drop vampire and you can't make a deck out of that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of stinks.
Yeah, I mean it's so hard to they kind of decide it's so hard. I'm guessing they're aware, it's kind of obvious like, oh, we are printing all these VAMs, can you build a good VAM deck? Maybe they do it, maybe they'd rather err on the side of caution and not make it also like not is it that interesting when it's just like here's exactly a 40 40 or 44 good cards you can play in your red black vamp, and you have to decide which 8 cards you don't want to play, and then boom, you have a good standard deck. I don't know, I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not a game designer. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
a good thing or a bad thing.
that's a fair point. I'm just like kind of speaking that sometimes I don't have like that much organic interest in playing standard for the most part.
Yeah.
So sometimes I see like a new card that taps into a theme, and I'm thinking, damn, I wonder if we could build like a deck around that. And most of the time, the answer is no. You just literally there is no cards that you could use to fill out a deck like this, so you can't build around that theme.
Maybe to mix it up, vamp was good, right? Vamp was the best deck in standard,
Yeah. I mean,
or
there was
the
they
top
do
two.
they do that thing where they print support in the core sets like before things rotate. So like then maybe they're gonna print on the Sorin type card, and that would exist. All right, so I guess that's gonna be it. Thank you very much for joining me for this set review, Gab. It was pretty fun to do.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. We should do it. Whether it's for set reviews or other thing, it's fun. Yeah, yeah. People who stayed all the way. I guess thanks for watching too. If you're watching the VOD or the YouTube and you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed it. So yeah, no, I had a good time. It's fun to talk about cards, and yeah.